Imagine this. You've been working hard, you've been grinding, you've been putting in the work, and the opportunities are starting to present themselves. Maybe it's you're stepping into that starter role. Maybe you're going on to the next level of the game. Maybe you're just becoming a leader on the team. We could go on and on this, even just new opportunities. But then we have that doubt, and it starts to creep in, and it's saying, am I ready? Can I handle this? Should I be doing this? What if I fail? This moment right here, this is what separates those who rise above and those who fall to a level below. And it's not just about our skills, it's about our mindset, our preparation, our confidence. And that is what we're looking at here. How do we step into that next big role with that clarity, with that power, with that pressure handling ability, instead of having that fear, instead of having that hesitation where then we blink and we miss the play? And that is exactly what we're diving into today. Hey y'all, welcome to the Athlete's Health Deep Dive, the weekly episode where we get a mental performance theme of the week, dive deep into its insights through some tips, tricks to remember it, tools to apply it. And the goal here is to bring you more value. The athletes, the coaches, the parents, the leaders, anyone, giving you a glimpse into some longer conversations around this mental performance topic and what some specific conversations in our coaching could look like. Each week we have a theme where we're diving deep into some tips, tricks, and tools. Tips are kind of just the general what it is. The tricks are a way for you to remember it, a way for us to remember it. And then lastly, the tools are ways to apply it, adding these tools to our tool belt, our bag, and up our mental performance. Like I said, each week we have a theme, and this week's theme, we are diving deep into stepping into your next big role. So dive with me as we go 5 tips, tricks, tools around moving up the ranks, leveling up into that next role. Tip number 1 is owning the opportunity before it owns us. Because sometimes, what if the reason you're feeling that pressure is actually just showing you that it's proof that you are ready for this moment, that pressure is there, is actually proving something, right? You have a big role, let's say, and you have a starting lineup. You're the team captain. You're maybe in a leadership position now. But instead of having that excitement for that thing that you've kind of been thinking about that you want, you start to feel that pressure, right? You're thinking about that pressure. What if I mess up? What if I let people down, right? That pressure is actually just a sign that we care. That's the cool thing about it. The ones who thrive under that pressure are the ones who decide to own that moment rather than just letting it own them. So we want to pre-claim the role. That's the trick. Pre-claim the role. And ideally, we're just going to make sure that we do not wait to feel ready, but we act like we already are. It's a big thing there. We want to make sure that we're not just waiting for the time when we feel like we're ready. We're acting beforehand, like we already are ready. And to do this, we can just write that down quickly. Like, I'm ready for this because, and then list out 3 reasons. We can visualize ourselves already succeeding in that new role that we're put in without even being in that role yet. If we can replay that, then all of a sudden we start to know that we are more ready for this. For example, like Kobe Bryant, he didn't just wait to feel like a leader. He decided he was one when he stepped on the court at the Lakers as a young rookie, right? As a young player, he decided he was going to be one of the leaders on this. The confidence is not just given. It's not handed out like candy on Halloween. It is claimed, and we have to claim it by owning it before it owns us. Tip number 2 is shift from pressure to purpose. And this kind of stems around like, do we want to replace fear of failure with a focus on purpose? I vote yes. And what if we did that? Because all of a sudden we're changing what we look at now. If we step into this bigger role, it's easy to have a lot of that pressure around us, right? To think about all that pressure. But what if that pressure was just energy? What if you decide if it fuels you or if it freezes you, right? I love to think about this when I'm in a bigger pressure role. Is this going to fuel me more? Is this going to add to the fire? Or is it just going to make me freeze in my tracks? Because sometimes it does make us feel like we want to freeze. But if we use it the right way, we can shift it from what if I fail to why am I here? What have I been doing? What led me to this, right? That's this why shift. That's this trick. And we want to turn fear into fuel by focusing on that purpose. We don't want to focus on the pressure of all the what ifs, but the purpose of why are we here, not what if this happens. We're asking the wrong view question if we're doing that. But if we look at our purpose behind now, what made us get here, why are we here, instead of what happens if this or this or this or this goes wrong, we can really change it up. If we want to do this, we can make sure before challenges we take a breath, right? We remind ourselves, I'm here because I earned it. I'm here because X. I'm here because this happened. We're setting ourselves up for success by knowing why we are actually there. Another way that we can do this is just set a simple goal before a game, before a practice, where we're going to be focusing on the process of the game, of the practice, and not just the outcome of it, but the actual process that we're doing too. And with some athletes I've been studying here recently, some big names, right? They would feel pressure before some of their big races, before some of their big swim meets. But if the coaches train them to redirect it, they redirected it from hopefully I don't mess up to execute what I've trained for. Right? This is a small shift that sometimes we'll think about. I'm going to use it today when I go move on to some of my other stuff that I got going on this afternoon. But it's a big thing to be like, oh, don't mess this up, or hopefully this goes good too. Just do what you've been training. Just do what you've been doing. Use these tools of setting that small goal or phrasing why you are actually here and shift that pressure to purpose. Tip number 3 is build the skills and not just the confidence. And if you're in this position, you're probably doing this. But let me ask you this, like, what if confidence is something that you actually build and not what you just feel? Hear me out on this, right? A lot of times people think they're confident, they have it, they're going. But that confidence oftentimes seems to come from the competence that they have, right? They know they put in the work. If you step up somewhere and you know you're going to be there, if you have the confidence, why do you do that? It's because you know you can do it, right? It's because you've been putting so much work in there. So if we're in a bigger role, if we're stepping up to that spot, we need to make sure that we're building the skills that match it. And if we're being put in that role, ideally, we probably already have some of those skills, right? But if we're still stepping up to it, maybe we do need to build some more of those skills so then that confidence does come with it. For that, we can use this trick of stacking wins. That's kind of thrown around there and used a lot, but it's actually going to work really well for this because that confidence grows when we prove to ourselves over and over that we can execute. So to do this, we can just pick a small skill that's going to align with our new role, and we want to improve it daily. That's why we're picking that small skill that's probably a little newer too, because we do want to improve it daily. And with that, we're going to practice something specific at each practice at the end of it, or each game, or each performance, whatever it is what did I do well today, and what could I build on today? If we practice this 1 minute reflection, just a quick, not even 1 minute, like 30 second, 15 second, as we keep building it up, then we can see how that's going to scale and level up. And the best kind of example for this is like a backup QB. They don't just hope they're ready. They have to do everything that the quarterback is doing. They got to study the film. They got to take the extra reps. They got to prepare. So then when the quarterback does get hurt, they can hop right in there, right? If we do not have a good backup quarterback or a backup quarterback who has been practicing, who has been ready, who is building the skills and not just their confidence in the game, then we're not going to want them on our team, right? But if they are building the skills right along with the main quarterback, when they do get hurt, we're ready to go. And that ties us to tip number 4 of trust your preparation and not just the talent, right? If we're there, we probably have some talent, right? But what if preparation was the key to feeling ready and not just your ability? And this comes from the best athletes, the best ones. Maybe preparation takes them to a certain extent, but there has to be stuff beyond that. They do not solely, or maybe talent takes them to a certain extent, my bad, but they rely on the preparation. The preparation is what gets them over the hump. They cannot rely solely on their talent. And I love the saying that when you know you've prepared your utmost ability, you can step into any role with confidence, any role that you know that preparation would work for. And that is why I want us to make sure we're using this trick of rehearse the moment. Whatever the big thing is that we have going on, we have to rehearse it. We have to practice that pressure. So it's not as scary, but it's a lot more familiar. Now, we may not be able to rehearse all the eyeballs on us, all the everything, but we can ensure we practice what we're doing in that pressure situation. So what we're doing is familiar. And to do that, we can use these tools of of creating pressure reps in practice. So we're going to be doing what we're doing in that big moment. We can also try and throw a little more pressure on it. We can be more tired. We can put more on the line on if we do miss or we mess up. So then we're practicing and performing under that little bit more pressure right there if we're making them pressure reps. And in addition to that, we have to make sure then we're battling it, and we can do some controlled breathing before, for instance, to settle some nerves, to lock in. And we can do that definitely before games, before the big moments, to control that breath, so then we can kind of control the rest of our game and reset, flush whatever we need to flush, anything else that we need. Now, Serena Williams, I love her stories and some of her books and learning more about her, but she didn't just play matches. She didn't just go through ups and downs, but they were training through high pressure moments. So then when those times came, not only her, but the Williams sisters could perform at their peak. Then they knew they had already done what they needed to do in practice, or when they were younger, like being in the pros when they're 12, 14 years old, they knew they could do it because they had already performed practice at peak pressure situations. So that's why tip number 4 is trust your preparation, not your talent. Put some pressure reps in there, create some added pressure, whether it's running more, losing something else, you name it, and then make sure we tie that breath to it too so we know how to handle it. Lastly, tip number 5, step into the identity of your new role, right? This one seems a little cliche, a little common, but it's huge. We need to take that big step, because if we're stepping in that bigger role, what if the key to excelling in it is actually seeing ourselves as the person who is doing that, as the person who is already owning that? And that's what we're looking at here. Instead of looking at ourselves as just another player, we're going to look at ourselves and actually perform as one. Because if we see ourselves as just another player, like, oh, why did we get this? We're going to just be another player. But if we see ourselves as the leader, as a person who should have already been in this new role, as a person promoted to this new spot, whatever it is, wherever we're leveling up in, then we are going to deliver with our actions to follow suit of our promotion, of our leveling up. We will be that go player because we are already thinking like we are. We are already owning that spot. We are already stepping into that identity. The identity comes first, and then the performance follows. That's ultimately where I got this identity upgrade as our trick. We need to act, think, and train like the person who already owns this role. If you hear that role and you're just thinking, who would own that role? What would they be doing? That's what we need to be doing. We can do this with these tools of every morning, asking ourselves, how would someone in this role show up today? In addition to that, in addition to thinking how would someone show up every morning when we're waking up, what would they be doing? We can build a routine that's going to align with our new level, that mindset, nutrition, recovery, anything and everything of what we're needing to do to perform at our peak. We can line that up. And just for reference, one more time, like Tom Brady, he was not always the most talented quarterback, but he acted like the franchise leader before anyone else saw it, before people thought, who is this guy? And then eventually everyone thought he was. Then eventually everyone's saying he's going to fall off a cliff. Beforehand, no one even knew he was on a cliff. No one even knew he was starting to climb a mountain. But eventually everyone knows because he's probably acting himself something like, all right, if I want to have 7 championships down the road, what would someone be doing who's doing that? And then he's doing that every morning. He's building those routines that level it up. And ultimately, he steps into that identity of the new role before anyone else even thinks he's there. Awesome, y'all. Always, I like to recap to conclude the 5 key tips, tricks, tools that we cover in today's episode in stepping into your new role. So number 1 was owning the opportunity before it owns you. We need to pre-claim that role because confidence comes from deciding you belong there. No one else, maybe you don't. No, it comes from you deciding you belong there. Number 2 was shift pressure to purpose. And this is that why shift. Fear is going to disappear if we focus on the why we're here instead of the pressure that comes from being there. Number 3 is build the skills and not just the confidence. We want to stack those wins. We're stacking the wins because confidence is built through those daily reps so we can keep showing ourselves that we're doing it. Number 4 is trust the preparation and not just the talent that gets you there. We have to rehearse that moment. When we prepare for pressure, it's going to stop being as scary because we're not just going off of the talent, but we're actually going on all that preparation that we have in it. And lastly, step into the identity of your new role. We have that identity upgrade where we are seeing ourselves as the person who owns the level. So I just want to make sure we know that no matter what level we are stepping into, we're stepping up to whatever level we're leveling up on. It's not just about being ready, it's about getting ready for that spot. We have to own it, we have to prepare for it, and we need to step up into it with confidence. My name is Gabe Rummel. I'll catch you next week on the Athlete's Health Deep Dive.